Okay, YouTube land, what's good? This is your host from the Gulf Coast doing the most.
Doing the most.
Donte.
And Shellie.
We are the yin and yang of Short-Term Rentals podcast. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Booyaka, booyaka, booyaka. Animal noises.
Darn fools.
And today's topic, or this episode's topic, is going to go on our business models, not modules. And the reason we were going to talk about this early is because, you know, our podcast is called the Yang and Yin of Airbnb podcast. So it's like
Yin and yang.
Yang and Yin.
Yin and yang.
Obviously, you could tell we come from two different positions, perspectives, but we looked at it as two halves to a whole. And we wanted to give viewers and listeners these perspectives because you can go to either side, both of them can work, but you have options. You don't always have to do one model that you see someone do. Some people are doing things and have success in other models. So with my model specifically, I have a home that I stay in and I rent out just a single room in it. Shellie will talk about her model where she's got a home that she doesn't stay in and she lets the whole house be rented. I rent out in Escambia County in the city of Pensacola. She's in Navarre, Santa Rosa County. So we have two different counties, two different styles, and we just wanted to share our experience of how we manage them so that people can kind of get a wider view of what it is to be an Airbnb host.
Before we jump into today's topic, we ask that you do three things. One, hit the like button because Donte's single and he needs some likes in his life.
And I'm almost ready to mingle.
Oh my gosh. Two, click the subscribe button so that you can participate in our giveaways, which will be specific to our subscribers.
Because we love y'all.
Love y'all. What's wrong with you? Please click on the notification bell and share it. Notification's going to let you know every time we drop something new. And the share button is because sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. All right. Let's get into it. Boom. Shaka-laka.
Yeah, and that's 100% right. But there are some other differences too. So
Oh yeah, go ahead. You can go ahead and start it off.
Well, actually, I'm actually going to ask you some questions.
Yes,
because that's
do
what
it.
I like to do.
I'm ready.
So I know you shared kind of what were the first things that you purchased in preparation for starting your Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
But from a business perspective, did you incorporate? Did you develop an LLC? Did you just put your name out there? Did you set up a business account? How did you do it from a business perspective?
So now I got to think about it because I'm like, how did I do that? It's been so
It's
long.
been so long.
It's been so long. 9 months. I've done so many things in 9 months. It seems like that was like 2 years ago. But I believe in my hearts of hearts that I set it up personally because I remember having the decision of like, should I go with an LLC and create one or should I just do it personally? And I actually talked to a CPA about this, maybe some other people too. But I believe he was saying is that if you put it in an LLC, it's in your house. So it's like almost like your whole house, to my understanding, would be under it. Like, how could you just do a single room? So then that way, if something happens, it's like it's the house that is liable, not just like the room. So it's like, it really didn't give me the protection that I think that most people would get.
Got you, because you are doing a room in your house, and that makes sense.
Yes.
And that's interesting because on my side, I was not going to move forward without it being an LLC.
I was leaning and I was ready, and then that was a gym that was out there. I was like, yeah, man, I don't want my house to be, something happened, they could be able to take my house because that was like, the house is the Airbnb.
Right. And again, the beauty you have with your homestead that I don't have because I don't live in that house, right? So it's not my homestead. Being that it is your homestead, there are some protections built in right there because it is your homestead property. So that's a good nugget to draw. I never even really considered that, to be completely transparent, with those that are just doing a room. But you're right. It's almost no point in doing an LLC if you're just doing a room.
For sure. But if I was going to do another one, or when I do my other one, for sure, if I'm not living in it, I'll be doing the LLC.
Yeah. And so, so I'm
you already touched on it, but you did that for yours.
Yeah. All right. So did you set up a separate account?
Yes.
Okay, good. So how much did you put in that account to start your business?
So I really just funded it like as much as I needed to. Like I didn't really have like a budget.
Okay.
I really was like, I can be very aggressive with my ventures where I'll put everything into it. So it was like whatever money I had, I could allocate, I allocated to it in the beginning because I wanted to get off the ground. I wanted to have everything it needed to generate the price that I wanted. And I just knew that I wanted to have it a step above like the minimal. So I'm always very like, it's either going to be a very like nice mid-level looking, feeling experience for a good price, or it's going to be a little bit higher than that. So I was just like, whatever money I got to get, I'm going to get that. Whether it's using some credit or using like some savings, whatever it was. So I was like, this is going to make money. So I wasn't looking about how much it's going to cost at all. Like I was like, if I can profit in the first year, that would be a win. So I was like, I know I could do that because I was like looking at expenses, looking at furniture. I was like, if I can make $500 a month, I can pay back all this.
Oh, this no time.
No time. So I was like, whatever it takes, we're doing it.
Okay. All right. So, okay. So, did you so you didn't really give yourself this is the amount I'm going to spend and not more than that. You just...
No, not in the beginning, man. Because I think that stops a lot of people. I think it stopped me a couple times from taking action. Is because like I feel like, oh, I need this much, or like money became too much of the focus, like cost. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I need to look more on like profit, like how much should it be? And then it's like, okay, if I can make that, how can I get to it? What's the cost that I could get to that number and like profit? Then I'm like, okay, I need to spend around here so I can profit this much. I can spend here, profit this much. And then I'll go, okay, if I spend this much, will it be good enough? Do I need to spend a little bit more? How will that affect that? So it's like, I do that kind of dance with my planning for my business. And, you know, like I said, it was like, oh, I mean, it's just one room, I think. And yeah, I was like, I think I feel comfortable with just spending a little bit more on, you know, flat screen TVs, surround sound, and making sure they get like a nice, comfortable bed and like all these things. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I didn't really anticipate them utilizing the living area. So I didn't really invest much into like the living spaces and some of the other places. I mean, I have a new home, so everything's pretty nice. But I didn't have a lot of furniture. I'm a single guy, and I was like, I don't really be in here to like leisure. I'm like grinding. So I got a couch, and I knew I was gonna maybe invest into the living room, but I made that like down the road after the money was made. So I just got necessities in the beginning, bathroom things. They have their own bathroom, so I remember I was investing to make sure there was like towels. I make sure like, you know, I had some nice things in there. It was like, it just had enough to be like, okay, this person like at least put something in here that was gonna get the job done. Outside of that, I don't really think I had anything. Oh, the one other thing I did do was that because I anticipating having remote workers or traveling workers, I did like get a little station for them to do, and I made sure like my internet was at a good speed. So I remember I was like, I got an app to test that out, see how fast it was, and make sure that it could operate at a high level for people who needed to do work while they're here. So I did invest into like a nice, comfortable remote work area and some good internet.
So okay, so that's good. So you were focusing, and again, we talked about before that you kind of targeted, you know, kind of people who kind of flow like you.
Yes, traveling workers and people who are visiting for certain events in the area, whether it was like a beach weekend or to see a show. Those have been like the two biggest couples. You know, we had like college couples coming down for the spring breaks, bringing their, you know, partners and wanting to go to the beach. We had people who were also in the military base who wanted to have their significant other come and stay somewhere off the area. And then we had people who wanted to go to shows at Vino and even some shows in like Lower Alabama, like Orange Beach area. Like they were okay with making that drive, staying over here because it's not that far.
Right.
So yeah.
And you're right off the interstates.
And then people come from the airports who were just kind of like, we need a place to stay. I got a lot of travelers who were coming from Texas to Florida. That's probably been like the biggest people who are doing these trips that we're staying and looking for like a good halfway spot. So they would come from like Austin, Houston, Dallas, and be like, we're going like Tampa or Orlando.
Yeah,
I mean, like we didn't want to do the whole drive.
Just break it up.
So they would stay in Pensacola.
Yeah, I get the travelers too. So it sounds like your business model is typical to your personality, just very laid back and laissez-faire. I was very structured.
Yeah. Let's go. So let's go about your business structure.
Yeah,
how did you
very
plan?
Structured. I knew that I was gonna have a LLC because it is a separate home. and I wanted to protect that investment. So I definitely knew I was going to do an LLC. So I did that. I also knew that I wanted to, again, I left a lot of pieces in the house from when I lived there, but then there were going to be some things I had to do. So I gave myself a budget.
What's one of the, I'm just curious, what's one of the pieces that you left that you're like, I'm going to leave this for them to enjoy?
One of those pieces, to be honest, is this very ornate,
Ornate.
very,
Hey, Miss T.I. over here.
very ornate, upholstered headboard. And I remember buying that. I remember it was a departure for me. It was me elevating myself. I remember the first time I saw it, I fell in love with it. And I was like, man, I can't afford that. I can't spend that kind of money on for a headboard. I can't do it. And I started to change my mindset and recognize that I am a queen and I am special and I am worth it.
And that's kind of very interesting because you're pretty much saying like this was a moment where like you're talking about the elevation of your mentality and looking at yourself as like deserving of
That's right.
quality.
That's right.
And that flows into like you wanted it to stay there because you maybe want your guests to feel like they deserve that.
Absolutely. I remember, to be honest, I wasn't quite ready. All right. So we're having some work done in the kitchen, and my parents, this is probably about 6 months before I started doing Airbnb. We had already moved into our new house. We did that during the pandemic, and my parents were traveling from Texas, ironically.
Shout out Texas.
And they live in West Palm Beach, so they were also stopping at this halfway point, to rest, and then they were going to finish up. And so I was like, okay, well, you can stay at the old house, right? And so they were like, okay. And it wasn't anywhere near ready, but it was definitely habitable. And so they stayed there with my oldest son. And I remember Mom saying, oh, in that bed, I felt like a queen.
You were like,
mission accomplished. Mission accomplished.
we did it.
And and obviously she like in the habit of just walking all over our house, right? So she hadn't actually seen it. I had it for a few years, but she hadn't actually seen it. So she was just like, oh my God. She's like, you leaving that in? I'm like, yeah, it's staying. And that's what that's the feel that it evokes. And so that was my inspiration for the themes of each room.
How good did it feel to get that compliment on something that you had an intention and you wanted to get a certain response and to get the response? Like, how was that?
I just felt great because that's what I wanted her to have.
Yeah.
That's what I want. It was like, oh, I did it.
Put a little smile on your face.
Yeah, because I love helping people. So, and she's so sweet, to be honest. She's such a sweet soul. So, and she's so giving, so that I could pour back into her was just like the greatest gift for me. And so, and then I made sure that I wanted them to be my first guest. I wanted them to stay first. In that way, you have family and they give you the real, right? So I was like, listen, I need y'all to come because I'm getting ready to, put this on Airbnb.
Like
so I need y'all to come and stay, and I need y'all to tell me the truth. Right. And fam will tell you the truth.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a good way to kind of like get a good perspective, an honest perspective about the experience because, they're going to give you a little bit more than maybe someone else. Because some people might be, depending on who you're booking, they might be like, we don't want to hurt this person's feelings.
Right.
Stuff like that. But it's very beneficial to get that feedback as anyone who's providing a good or a service. Like,
absolutely.
The whole business needs that truthful, honest feedback because if they're thinking it or feeling it or experiencing it, someone else probably will too. Absolutely.
And so, and I told him, I said, listen, this is business. So I need the real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Don't do well, I'm just going to say, and I use the example.
If my sheets don't smell like they smell weird, let me know.
I need to know.
If it's too cold, if it's too hot, let me know.
All of that. And so one of the things I said to them was I said, listen, don't American Idol me. don't have me going out there thinking I'm going to Hollywood and y'all knew I couldn't sing. I need
You
you.
want Simon Cowell.
Right. I need Simon. I don't need what's her
Paula
Paula.
Abdul?
I don't need Paula. Shout out to you, Paula, but I don't need Paula. I need somebody who gonna give me.
Hey, dog. Hey, this ain't
Randy.
gonna work out for us, dog. Like, the bad was just, it was mid, dog.
Yeah, I need Randy and Simon. So that's what I need. And so they did. They were like, okay. And again, they get a lot of great feedback, right? But they did give me some feedback, and she's like, hey, this has a crack over there. And I was like, oh, I didn't notice that. And she's like, hey, this has this, da da da.
Okay.
You know, so my dad, professional painter for years.
Oh.
So of course, you know, he was like,
Got that paint.
hey, on the outside, y'all need this, that, and the third, da da da. So it was really, really beneficial to have that feedback and be able to do all those things that they pointed out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So, and I'm gonna pick out your business model. So, question for you: what was one of the things, like with demographic, the people you were targeting? How did you determine who you're going to cater the experience for? How much thought behind that, and what were kind of the things that you brought into your location, your property, to make sure people experience that?
I think like your automatic target is someone who's like you, unless you're just very intentional to target someone else. I saw from my own experience using Airbnb, I was the opposite. I'm the person who preferred the hotel over Airbnb. So when I, decided that, hey, I'm going to be obedient and I'm going to start an Airbnb, I had to say, why would I want to stay here instead of a hotel?
Okay.
That was my mindset, because if you would have asked me initially, I'm going to choose a hotel. The first time I used Airbnb was, I was going to a funeral, and it was actually my nephew's funeral. And the hotels in the area were not close to my sister's house. And because my sister had lost her son, I wanted to be close.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
that was the first time I used Airbnb as a guest. And so I didn't care about, oh, I'm going to have to make up the bed myself. Oh, I'm not going to have housekeeping every day. I'm not here for me. I'm here for my sister.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be as close as, so location was the important thing for me, because I needed to be in proximity to her so that I could get to her as quickly as possible if she needed me at any point, at any time. So that honestly was my first time using Airbnb as a guest, and that's why I used it. So, and obviously I didn't pick any place crazy, and I wasn't gonna stay with anybody, so I went the entire space, and it was adequate. But there were some things that I said, man, nah, they should have had blah blah blah. But I can't be mad at them. They didn't falsely advertise.
For sure.
Right? So it was just,
And that's important. It's important
yeah,
to make sure that you're not over advertising, because nothing will probably kill your business than someone thinking they're going to get something and they don't get it.
absolutely.
Because the
Be honest.
reviews are everything. My whole business really benefited from the great reviews I had, because outside of location probably being maybe the biggest important thing to the business, is like you tailoring your place to the business. I mean, location. I mean, my location is everything. I've had people come down to see graduations because of location. They do this because of location. It's like the location is really why they are coming here in the first place. But what keeps them coming or gets more people coming is the reviews.
Yep.
So I've had great reviews, and people tell me they choose my spot over other spots because of the reviews.
And you know what? That's a great point too. When people, now it's like Airbnb is kind of becoming the thing, right? Another investment vehicle. Oh, I just want to do it, da make a bunch of money. And I think that's a misnomer, because to be honest with you, it is not passive. It is not a passive investment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not passive income.
Even with whatever model you have, you are gonna have to put some work in.
You're either going to have to put some work in, or you're going to pay a lot more.
Yeah.
Because somebody got to work it.
Yes.
Right?
It is a job.
It is. So that to me is a key. And also the fact that, you got to have that demand generator. You know, there's a reason most people don't just go to whether it be a hotel, an Airbnb, any place just out in the middle of nowhere just because I just want to stay there.
For sure.
Right? You got to have a demand generator. And so for us, Florida, a lot of times within itself is the demand generator.
Yeah, we benefit for sure from the state of Florida just being attractive.
Just being in Florida, being the proximities to the beaches.
For sure.
Right? I'm in, Navarre Beach, about 7-8 minutes in the car.
Like
and you're
literally,
there.
like you grow up with that kind of convenience to the beach, and it definitely does. It's not as significant. But someone comes around here, they go like, "What?" It's like we have to drive. If they
Literally
are,
hours.
hours.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I've never had.
Yeah, never had to drive hours again. Well, you probably did, but you were probably so young when you lived in Ohio. Did you probably?
Man, I don't
right?
even know if we went to any of that up there, like lakes and stuff.
Yeah.
Man, I couldn't.
And a lake and a beach, there's a difference.
I saw the lake for the first time this summer. I feel like it was the first time I seen a lake. We went to Cleveland, and I was like, there's a picture of me in the video of it, because I was like, I can see the water. Like, is this the lake? I'm like, going down, seeing the rocks. There ain't no like barely any sand. Like, it's like
Right, it's not the same.
So
yeah.
like people who live in all these other areas, like when they come down here, it's like, most of them are coming down for that beach, and it is definitely beneficial to host because, it's like we didn't have to build that, we didn't prepare that, we ain't taking care of it.
Right, you automatically have the demand generator, which
Yeah.
is the beach. I remember as I was looking and I was doing research, it was saying one of the top things that people want in an Airbnb is a pool.
Yes,
And
I saw
so
that, too.
that almost made me say, oh, well, maybe da-da-da. But I had to remember, this is everywhere in the U.S. and even overseas.
Yes.
When there are people, I know folks who have Airbnb in our area that have a pool and nobody gets in it because people are like, I can get a pool anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm coming for the beach specifically. So they didn't care about the pool. So I had to kind of say, okay, and so to your point, sometimes over researching can be a problem.
Yeah.
And then where you're getting your information from and it's not in context. So I think if someone would ask, in a beach town, what amenities are people looking
Yeah.
for most in an Airbnb?
different.
I don't think a pool will be at the top of that list.
For sure.
And so I think you can mess yourself up at times, just getting kind of generic information without context. So I love the fact that, we could have did a blog or wrote an article or even a book, right? But I love the fact that we're doing this and we can kind of put it in context for people.
Can you see me as a blogger?
I actually could.
I had this conversation with my new personal assistant who wants to be a blogger. And I was like, people want to be bloggers? New bloggers? Can you be? I don't know nothing about bloggers for real. So if someone sees, like, you see me be a blogger, I'm like, I can't even see a blogger in my head. Like,
You can't see a blogger, so I can't see me as a blogger. I can't see a blogger.
But yeah.
I actually could on minus module versus module.
but I appreciate that. I'll take it as a compliment. And yeah, it's definitely, you can definitely overdo it. There's a lot of things you can do. That's one of the things that is, it's a challenge in this generation that I've grown up in, is like there's so many options. There's so many vehicles. You get the analysis paralysis, the term they use, and a lot of things. And it's like, man, there's too much information. So it's kind of like you really need to, and this is why it's important to have people locally that you're connected to, because there's certain things that locals in your market there's a higher priority for them than in other markets. Like we're talking about the pool. Like I wasn't really looking at the property who had a pool. I was like, man, I remember I went to a kid's house when I was young and the pool was so cool. Like, it's like I always wanted to have a house with a pool, but I remember the parents complained about it and how much it cost and the cleaning of it. And then they're like, no one really gets in it. And I was like, yeah, when you grow up in Florida, like when you're down here, like the pool is just not as attractive as maybe if you had it somewhere else.
No, it's not. It really isn't, because again, the beach is way cooler. Like I think, like to your point,
Salt
growing
life.
up in Florida, I was born and raised in South Florida. So I remember being stationed here in the military and be like, oh man, you got stationed there. That's a great base. You're right there by the beach. I was like, what else is there?
And that is literally that's the line in the sand with people who are here, people travel here. Because with some of my guests, they don't really, the beach isn't as attractive. And maybe they come from places that already have beaches. So they're like, what else is here? So they come to me.
Right.
This is something that like I've experienced and where I try to elevate this place, and I have some plans to help. Because this place is really tailored for the beach, but Pensacola's working on adding some things, and there's some stuff I like to let people know. That might be the most exciting stuff to do, but it can be enjoyable. If you have a good attitude and you're open to it and you're around good company, a lot of things can still be enjoyable.
I think the biggest thing in this area, beyond obviously the beach, is the culture. I think you have enough of the Southern hospitality, but you're not in Mayberry. You know what I'm saying? It's not so dry and, oh my God, I forgot that
Mayberry.
you are.
Where have you been?
5. But
That sounds country.
it is country. It is a fictitious place.
Oh.
Andy Griffith show back in the day.
Okay, my bad.
I forgot.
I was watching that when I was 3. Yeah.
That's why I said I forgot you're 5, and you don't know what I'm talking about.
Shout out to Andy Griffith Show. There was some funny episodes. I did catch a couple of them in black and white.
Barney Fife, yeah. So, but it's not like so slow that it's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's very mid. It's very mid with a
mid.
lot of things because it's like you might not. When I lived here, it was definitely like this is too slow. But then when I moved away to I lived in Alabama, Mobile, Birmingham, I lived in Austin, and I came back. I was like, okay, it's like depends on where you are in your life. Like if there's a certain pace that you're like, I'm not in a rush to do a lot of stuff, then yeah, this place is very attractive because there's nothing that's really like amped up to be like, oh, we gotta go. And I think people who are like a little older or who are younger who just want to just relax.
It's a chill. It's a chill
This is
to it.
relax.
Yes,
Chill.
it's a relaxing thing because I remember Phoenix. OMG, I hated, like, it was a battle every day
So
with
busy.
the traffic.
Yeah.
Every day it was a lot to do, but it was a fight to get everywhere.
Yeah, super active, and you're talking about lines, you're talking about traffic, and sometimes like even parking. That's been like, oh my god.
The
like,
parking, and I remember saying to someone when they was asking me, I said, I just never acclimated to the West. It's something about the Southeastern culture that is different. I'm like, these clowns rude. You know what I'm saying? Like, they
Yeah.
rude. It's enough of, I mean, I can't think of one time when I was in Phoenix where someone let me in the traffic. Not
Wow.
one time.
Wow.
And not one time in Atlanta where they will let you
Yeah.
in. You know what I'm saying? Here, it'll be like, you stopping all these people. Come on, boo. Come on.
There's some
come on.
really nice people in this community. I will say that, like, top to bottom, and regardless of age, like, you will run to
Yeah.
some really nice people. I mean, and it's really something that you appreciate as you get older, probably. But I've seen people come from the outskirts, more rural areas, with like the lower income to the higher income, and you find like really quality, kind people. I remember this kid. I was like helping out this blind guy randomly with some stuff, and this kid was like, he didn't know me. He didn't look like us, and he looked at me and was like, "You want to cut in front of me in line?" This kid's probably like 15 years old. And his parents weren't there. Like he was in the
Yeah.
line waiting too, and he was like, I was like, dude, I don't know if that happens in every city.
It don't. Listen, it doesn't.
And shout out
And
that
it's
man's
not-
parents. I was like, man, y'all
Yeah.
raised a good kid.
And it's not even age. It really
Yeah.
is. It is the culture. I don't know. I always used to think it's because you had so much military.
Yeah.
And I think that does play a role too.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think this place is a gem. And we were talking about how, again, just even the cultural difference. It's just a gem. Now, there's always going to be a couple of knuckleheads. There's always everybody has them, right? But for the most part, by and large, it's the opposite of the 80-20 rule. It's 80% of the people who are great and the 20 that,
I mean, that's fair. Definitely.
yeah. So I think that is a great thing.
Yeah, so I mean, with our business models, as we wrap up this little topic on how we have found success in the Airbnb space, renting a room and renting a house, and we're both in our first years, and we've had, I became a super host 6 months in, and Shellie is probably, if she's not there, she's on her way, and financially, it's definitely been a boost to me, but just like you, initially I got into it for money, but as I started meeting the guests.
Just like me.
No, I'm talking about.
I didn't
Yeah.
get into it for money.
After I got into it, the guests became the more
Yeah.
biggest focus. Like
Yeah.
I don't even look at money as much anymore. Like I was like, as long as my bottom lines is fine. Like I'm like, I really care more. Like I'll spend extra stuff. I remember like I started spending things that were unnecessary. Just like I want the guests to really like this place. I want them to really be happy. I want them to come back.
Right.
Like I was like, oh man, I remember I got a little bar, just like because I remember it was Memorial Weekend, and I was like, man, someone's probably wanting to like pregame or postgame. It's like they might want to have some drinks here. Like I remember I went to Airbnb, and that was a cool thing that I saw at one of them, and I was like, that's cool. I also thought about getting some bikes for people to like bike downtown in case they didn't want to drive and stuff like that. I was like, so it's like I kept thinking of like, man, how can I make this more enjoyable? You know, I got kids in the summer. That was something I wasn't expecting because I didn't think people would bring their kids.
I was surprised about that.
Yeah, so that was like another, and we'll talk more about some of the things that we experienced that we've put some of our energy to kind of accommodate. But like, yeah, like people came with their kids. Like I'm talking about babies, I'm talking about 2, 5-year-olds, and I didn't really have nothing for them. So then, so then I started. I think I had a conversation with you about how like what you've done and some other people. So I got some toys, and you know, but before all that was my guitar that I play. So like some 5-year-olds jumping on my big pillow, and he's like, his dad's like, all right, man. And I'm like, no, he's a kid. He's gonna run around. Like, and then he looked at my guitar. He starts playing with it. I was like, all right, I don't mind sharing it. We do a little bit together on it and let him play because I don't know if they get to. But I'm like, I do need some toys. I need a little bit.
Yeah.
So I got some toys.
Yeah.
So it's been a good experience as a business where you're like, this is something in any business you find things you weren't even thinking about being of value, and then you start to invest into that, and then it can reflect on like you charging a little bit more down the road. Like you're like, okay, like you don't just get this now, you get this too now. And they're like, oh, but it's all based off of the data from your customers. So that's how you can justify it and how customers can feel like, oh, I'm okay with paying that because that was something I definitely would like to be there, whatever it is. So I'm just really surprised that like, if you would ask me earlier in this year, we would be talking about Airbnb and doing a podcast on it and having the success we have, I would have been like, because my first 2 months I had one guest, and we'll talk about the first guest experience. But yeah, I'm very thankful, and I look forward to the many years of being an Airbnb host in the Gulf Coast of Florida.
Shout out to many, many more. I really do feel like this is a newlywed thing, and it's like marriage to many more.
We're gonna celebrate end of the year. We're gonna have Christmas party.
All right, y'all. Till next time.
Watch me do my thing.
No VVS on my neck, probably cost more than my check. No disrespect, I just ain't flexing for them fools on the net. Question the setting, yeah, but you can't mistake the value. City sleeping on me like they hooked on volume. Catch a wave or float away. Sick of sitting sideline, I made a play. Anxious about opinions, they gon' hate me anyways. Either rise to the occasion or you caving like souffle. Attaché, no Hemingway.